What's up, guys? Welcome back to another one. Today we're going to be breaking down LFA 110, Johnson versus HORIUCHI. And this is supposed to be headlined by Josh Sylvia and Jesse Murray, but unfortunately that bout fell through. And yeah, talking about injuries, man, there was a lot of them on this card. Joseph Holmes and Roland Dunlop. I was super looking forward to that fight. That was honestly my favorite fight on this card, and that ended up falling through as well. Chibuike Munyenegecha and Emerson Souza, that bout ended up falling through too, but Souza's been replaced with a new fighter to come up against Munyenegecha here, so at least we still get to see him. But honestly, this card was looking super stacked beforehand, so I'm disappointed to see some of those fights fall through. But we still got a lot of good firepower on this card, and still should be really fun. So as per usual, we're gonna skip the prelims and get right into the main card. So the first fight on the main card that we got here is Chibuike Munyenegecha coming up against Renato Valente at middleweight. So originally I liked the matchup for Munyenegecha a lot better. Back when he was fighting Emerson Souza, I think this is going to be a bit of a tougher matchup maybe. But Munyenegecha is 7-0. He's an undefeated prospect still. Very powerful striker. He's a physically gifted guy. He's very strong. He's got lots of knockouts, and his last two fights were a round 1 KO in LFA, and then that was followed by a split decision win on Dana White's Contender Series. Personally, I thought he won all 3 rounds of that fight, if I'm just being honest. Dana wasn't impressed enough, though. He doesn't like decisions, and yeah, so the guy that Munyenegecha fought in that spot actually came up from 170 to 185, and the exact same thing was going to happen with Emerson Souza, who he was originally supposed to fight here. And now that exact same thing is still happening with his replacement opponent. Renato Valente is coming up from 170 to 185. So just kind of funny how that works out, man. But yeah, so exact same thing happening here. We got his opponent coming from 170 to 185. But for the last matchup, Munyenegecha was gonna have like pretty big size advantage. He was gonna have 5 or 6 inches on him in height, and 2.5 inches on him in reach. And now in this fight, he's gonna have a little bit of height and like a little bit of reach. So he's still gonna be a bit bigger. Obviously, this guy's coming up from 170 to 185, but it's not gonna be as pronounced a difference as it was in the last one. So yeah, pretty close in size, these two. But Munyenegecha has had that long layoff since his last fight, since that time on Dana White's Contender Series. That's been from 2018 to now. So that is a pretty long layoff, and he only just turned 27, so he definitely could have made a lot of improvements in that time, since he was like 23 or 24 years old. But I have no idea what he was doing in that time. However, I assume he was training, though. I'm not trying to say that he wasn't or anything like that, but yeah, Munyenegecha just kind of faced a pretty low level of opposition up until that Dana White's Contender Series fight, but nevertheless, he has good leg kicks, good pressure. He really uses those leg kicks to both accumulate damage and to enter and exit on combinations. So I really like that part of his game, honestly, and I just feel like overall he's got a pretty good striking attack. I do think that he'll probably be the better striker in this matchup, but it's going to be close. I definitely liked the original matchup a lot better for Chibuike. And now looking at Renato Valente. Talked about him on the channel before. I think LFA 105 was his last fight against Matt Martin. So yeah, Valente is taking this fight on 2 to 3 days' notice, up at 185 from 170 here, considering he missed weight in that fight against Matt Martin, which we talked about on this show. Maybe it's a good decision for him to hop up to 185, but still, I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sold on the move yet. And in that last fight against Matt Martin, Valente did do better than I thought he would. We were on Martin for that one. Martin did still get the W, but it was a decision, and I was thinking that Martin would probably have a little bit more success in the ground and pound. But yeah, Valente's fought pretty decent guys over his career. He picked up a W on Bellator before his last fight on LFA, and he's just a pretty solid fighter all around. I am going to go with you on Munyenegecha here. I feel like he gets it done. I don't like the matchup quite as much as I like the original one, but I still like it. When the line comes out for this, I'm interested to see what it might be. I feel like Munyenegecha might be a very heavy favorite, and he might be a little bit overvalued, but obviously I do still think he's going to win. So that's going to be my pick on that fight, guys, and we'll move right along to the next one. So now we have Jacqueline Amorum coming up against Megan Owen at strawweight. So Jacqueline Amorum 3-0. A really, really, really high level jiu-jitsu practitioner. She's a jiu-jitsu ace. In her 3 pro fights, they have all ended the same way. Round 1 submission for Jacqueline Amorum, and yeah, just a really, really excellent grappler. She's competed at a bunch of IBJJF events. She's just going to be a much, much better grappler in this fight. I mean, there's no two ways around it. Megan Owen, 1-0, undefeated pro, just won her debut, her only pro fight, obviously. Was 2-2 as an amateur. Her last pro fight was in 2019, so I mean, you got to think that Amorum is is the side in this one. But to be fair to Megan Owen, she spent a few weeks at MMA Masters in Miami before this fight. But she just she hasn't really fought anyone high level. Granted, neither has Amorum at this point, but she is just so polished in that one aspect of her game that I believe it's going to be enough to get her the win. So I am quite confident in Jacqueline Amorum in this one. I think she probably gets another first round submission here and looks pretty dominant. So yeah, that's going to be my pick in this one. Now we got Christian Natividad coming up against Luis Aguirre, and this should be an interesting matchup. Christian Natividad 3-0. It's a prospect I really like. He had an undefeated amateur career, made his pro debut in LFA, 2 round 1 KOs to start off his career, and we just saw him go the distance with Evan Wolseley, and it was a good fight, man. It was a good fight, competitive, but I feel like Natividad is a very promising 125-pounder. He's got really good power for the weight class, great speed. Hand speed is really good as well, and just looks a step above most of the regional guys he fights. He's fighting out of Arizona Combat Sports. And looking at Luis Aguirre, he's 2-2. He's got a 500 record. He's been active at least. I'm not saying that Natividad is really fighting, creme de la creme, but Aguirre's competition level is slightly below Natividad, in my opinion. Aguirre is tough and durable, but I just don't think he's as technical as Natividad. I just feel like Natividad's a better fighter overall. Both of these guys are still very green, so I'm not going to call it a lock, but I do feel confident in Natividad in this one. Just trains at a better camp, looks better on the eye test, and yeah, I just think he takes home a victory in this spot. So I'm going to be going with the Poi Pounder Christian Natividad in this one. So now we have Marcus Perez. A guy that is probably the most well-known fighter on the card for most people watching this video, and he's fighting against Cristiano Frolic at 185 pounds here. So Marcus Perez, I mean, obviously we all know him. He had a stint in the UFC, didn't exactly go smoothly per se. He went 2-5, and both of his wins were by submission. But he really faced some tough guys along the way: Dricus du Plessis, Wellington Turman, among other guys, and still wasn't the best UFC run, but that's very valuable experience, especially coming back into LFA. And yes, I said back right before he went to the UFC. He actually was the middleweight champ in LFA, where he was able to choke out Ian Heinisch, and that's a good win. And now he's returning to the promotion here. And LFA always does a great job, getting guys into the major promotions, and UFC in particular. It feels like pretty much every UFC event now we have somebody from LFA getting the call on short notice to go fight, and been decently successful actually as well. So yeah, LFA just does a great job of getting guys up there. Their fighters are always high on the list for call-ups. And yeah, so getting back to Marcus Perez, he is on a 3-fight losing streak right now, but obviously he's faced much better competition than Cristiano Frolic has. And looking at Frolic, he's 10-5. Gonna have a reach advantage coming in here. Not the same resume as Perez, obviously, but fought some really solid guys. His last fight was a loss, but it was to Carl Albrechtsen on Ryzen, so that's really not a bad loss. Albrechtsen just looked better, dropped him early with a body kick, but Frolik still, he's still a pretty good fighter. I like his jab. I feel like his reach advantage could be a big factor in this fight. The thing is, though, he hasn't fought since 2019, and Perez has actually been very active. So I'm going to go with Marcus Perez here. Consistently fought high-level opposition for the last 4 years and just been much more active than Frolic has. He's fought 3 times since Frolic last fought, and, he had 6 matches fall through in that time period where he was supposed to fight, but then, due to an injury or whatever it may be, the fight wasn't able to happen. So Perez is always ready to go. He's always prepared. I think that he's going to be sharper, just more of a well-oiled machine in this one and just fight a little better. So give me Marcus Perez. That's going to be my pick in this spot. Now we have the main event, a fight that I'm really looking forward to. This was supposed to be the co-main, and Sylvia versus Murray was going to be for the light heavyweight championship, or was it middleweight? I can't even remember. It was for the belt in one of those two divisions. And yeah, so we have Charles Johnson coming up against Yuma HORIUCHI here for the interim flyweight championship. Obviously, Victor Altamirano, who we've talked about on the show before, actually for the fight that he won the belt. We broke that one down. So I guess, yeah, whoever wins this one is going to get Victor, or maybe Victor's got some other things in the works. Who knows what's going to happen with it? But nevertheless, we got a big fight here. Charles Johnson is 8-2. Saw him against Carly Pangilinan on the same card as the previous 125 strap fight between Altamirano and Nate Smith, I want to say. I'm pretty sure is who we fought. And yeah, so Johnson was able to lock up the choke in the second round against Pangilinan. He had a considerable size advantage in that matchup. I picked him there, and obviously he came through. He's older than HORIUCHI is. He's 30. HORIUCHI's still 23. I think that benefits Johnson here, actually. Just more developed, more seasoned. He also has a height and reach advantage in this spot. Not, obviously not as egregious as it was in his last one, but still has those advantages. He's doing a lot of boxing before his MMA return in his last fight. He's got some good head movements, good footwork. He's really confident in there, with the hands low at times. He's talking trash to his opponent sometimes. He's done some training at Tiger Muay Thai. He really likes those teep kicks up the middle to keep the distance. And he's now 3-1 on LFA. That one loss coming to Brandon Royval, so that's not a bad loss at all. In his last fight, Pangilinan was giving him a bit of trouble with some leg kicks early. And then Johnson kind of really started to take over in the second half of round one. He was heating up, but Pangilinan packed such serious heat that he actually was able to drop him during that kind of momentum swing in Johnson's direction. That kind of just dried it all up right there. But, Johnson's able to collect himself, just get back to controlling the distance and having success at range. So it was a really back and forth round. Johnson kind of being more technical and landing more, but Pangilinan landing the bigger shots. And two judges had it for Johnson at the end of the first round. One of them had it for Carly. And in the second round, it was kind of more of the same. After a really hard shot from Pangilinan, Johnson was able to get a takedown and lock up an anaconda to win the fight. So, definitely a nice return to the MMA arena for Charles Johnson. And HORIUCHI here, 8-3, only 23 years old. He is very, very skilled, but still pretty raw. He has been fighting for a really long time, considering his age, like a really long time, since like 2013. Almost makes you consider what his age actually is now. But I actually do think he is 23. But he's just been fighting forever, man. He's had a ton of pro fights, and just been fighting for so long. Just seems like he could be older, right? But anyway, enough of that. He's got pretty good ability standing, 1-1 in the LFA. He fought Donovan Freelo in his last fight. Pretty tough regional scene opponent. He was supposed to fight Carlos Candelario there. Freelo took the fight on like 2 days' notice or something in classic LFA style. And Freelo was just closing the distance like a wild man, swinging bombs and actually having some wrestling success. HORIUCHI was, looking a little more polished on the feet. HORIUCHI actually lost a point at the start of the second round, then got dropped by Freelo. It just looked like everything was going wrong for him. But then Freelo goes into the guard, and HORIUCHI's able to pull out that armbar. And I know personally I was really happy about that because I had money on HORIUCHI in that one. And it was a really just nice win in the face of adversity for HORIUCHI. And overall, he is a really solid fighter, and I am a fan of his. But ultimately, I'm going to pick Charles Johnson here. I just think that Johnson is going to be slightly better in this match. I like his advantages in maturity and size and competition level. I think that it's going to be a close fight, but I do favor Charles Johnson here, and I think that he gets the job done. So those are all my picks for LFA 110, Johnson versus HORIUCHI. Should be a really fun event. We lost some some star power up the card, but we still have a lot on there. Still lots that I'm really excited for. Should be a really fun event to watch, and I'm really looking forward to it. As always, guys, thank you very much for taking the time to watch, taking the time to interact with me in the comments. Like the video, subscribe, all that good stuff. I really, really appreciate it. Hopefully, you guys do well this weekend. No UFC, so hopefully we don't all go crazy, and we can enjoy some LFA action on Friday night. And yeah, take care, guys. Have a great day. Hope you have a good one.